Charles Mitchell was born into slavery in Maryland on the U.S. East Coast and became part of the household of James Tilton. A century and a half ago, he made a bid for freedom on Vancouver Island. Chris Kirkpatrick now with This Week in History.
In September 1860, Charles Mitchell stowed away aboard the SS Eliza Anderson, a steam-driven side-wheeler carrying passengers and freight between Olympia, Washington and Victoria.
He came with James Tilton, who was going to Washington State to become Surveyor General, actually Washington Territory. It wasn't a state yet, and was part of the household.
When the Eliza Anderson reached Victoria, word that Mitchell was being detained aboard the ship spread, and as many as 700 people gathered dockside, September 25, 1860, calling for his release. As a stowaway, he had been locked up in the ship's lamp room, but with help from lawyer H.P. Creese and Attorney General George Carey, the case came before Chief Justice David Cameron in BC Supreme Court in Victoria.
He had been taken off the ship by using a writ of habeas corpus. He was brought before Judge Cameron, and he was declared free because he was on British soil.
The captain wrote a letter for the judge protesting the removal of Charles Mitchell from the ship and calling for Mitchell to be returned to his master. There are no pictures of Charles Mitchell, but this is the land of freedom in Victoria he found, as painted in 1860 by Sarah Creese, wife of Henry Creese, who defended Mitchell. Mitchell was last seen February 13, 1876, in a canoe laden with shingles, leaving Souk with a white man named Bill. 5 days later, the remains of the canoe and shingles were found, but no trace of the men. What of Charles Mitchell's wife and 4 children?
I think a few people have tried to track them as well, but so far no one has come up with any traces of them.
What had Charles Mitchell been doing since 1860 when he made his successful bid for freedom? Did he return to the U.S. to fight in the American Civil War and then return to Vancouver Island? Did he drown? A flight for freedom and a 137-year-old mystery this week in history.
This Week in History, brought to you by the Royal BC Museum, bringing British Columbia stories together.